Well, Bobby, welcome to your podcast, The Money Shop. Uh,
Thank you. I've always wanted to be here.
Today we're talking about the story of Stellar, like
Mm.
how we got where we are today.
I was driving to Taco Bell because that's kind of where my life is right now. We eat off of paper
Uh-huh.
plates and Taco Bell quite a bit because of children being young and stuff and not letting us sleep. Anyway, I was thinking about this on the way to and from Taco Bell, and I was like, what a weird ride we've gone on as a company. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, we're going to talk about it, but I was like, how has this changed so much? Like it really has changed like dramatically, at least, over the last couple of years. So
Yeah,
all
in a
good,
short
but
amount of time.
yeah. So what do we do? I'll let you're hosting my show. So you go.
Yeah. So my thought is just that, we've got Stellar now.
Mhm,
We've recently acquired the bottom line.
mhm.
We're doing more things that really focus on our sweet spot, which is helping entrepreneurs start and scale their businesses. And I just wanted to talk about how we got here, sort of like how you got started. And that
Mhm.
can be with Millennial Money Man or even with starting digital marketing
Uh-huh.
before that. And because I think that story, that initial part of how you got started, is really very much influenced where we are now. And I remember you
Yeah.
talking about how you wished that you had the kind of like community and support and coaching that we offer.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, so like, I don't know where you want to start. Very beginning, you were born in
Oh,
19, like
88.
we don't have to go that far, obviously.
Yeah.
But
That is depressing, I will say, when you get older and you have to start like when you have to put your birth date and there's like a scroll where you have to like scroll to find the year you were born and you have to like
mhm.
continue scrolling for a lot longer as you get older. Like that's depressing, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, where did it all start? It started, I guess, 10 years ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about that it's been a whole decade. But yeah, 10 years ago, I hated my teaching job more than anything in the world. And I felt trapped and I felt like I was like, why did I become a teacher? Like, why would I do something so dumb? And I'm not slamming the teaching profession. I think there's wonderful people that are teachers, and I liked aspects of it. Like I really enjoyed teaching the kids. Like that was the coolest thing about it. But so much about teaching was like not teaching the kids. So much of teaching is dealing with administrations and working a lot. Like I was working 70, 80 hours a week as a band director, which is kind of crazy. I didn't really have like full summers off like everybody else did because we do summer band and all that kind of stuff. So, and I was working, my job was kind of a weird one because I was a percussion director. I basically taught the drum line, but they can't just hire like a drumline instructor. Like that's big in Texas because Texas bands are so big. Like there are percussion director slots, but I had to, in order to justify my job, I also had to teach a beginner band at the high school. And then I had to teach at two middle schools and do their beginner percussion programs. Um, and so, like, many days during the week, it's like I got to the school, I taught the beginner band, which they didn't want to be there. Like, this was all the kids that were like in the fourth or fifth, basically, the fourth band is what I taught. Those are kids that are like in band just for the social aspect of it. They don't care about the
Right,
playing.
right.
So I would do that, and then I wasn't really even comfortable teaching a band because I didn't play like woodwind instruments very well or anything like that. And then I would travel to a junior high, and then I would travel to another junior high, and then I would go back to the high school. I'd have like 5 minutes for lunch, and then I would teach the rest of the day, and then um, I would I would do practice after, so I wouldn't get home till like 8 p.m. most nights.
Ooh,
So, like a year into it, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And then I remember seeing, this is kind of a sad story, but I remember seeing a percussion director um, that was also like, was in a nearby district. We had like a percussion competition. He was there. And I'd say he was like in his mid 40s. And like, I just saw him and he looked miserable. And like, I was just like, I was 23, 24 at the time. And I was like, oh my God, that's going to be me.
yeah.
Like I'm going to be making barely more money than I do now. there was, adjusted for inflation, I was actually taking a pay cut every year. So it was like, 20 years from now, I'm going to be making the same amount of money and I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. And I'm going to just hate my life. So,
Right.
and maybe that guy loved his life. I don't know. But he just, in that moment, he looked sad and downtrodden. So I was like, okay. So, I mean, that along with this, I always wanted to start a business. I always went to college to get a business degree instead of music education. And I decided not to for some reason. And so I'd always wanted to start a business. In the summers, I was working for my friend who owned a swimming pool company. And he was like teaching me the business because I was considering maybe I would buy that eventually. And then I realized very quickly, like, that work sucks too because it's hot in Houston and it's awful. And like, he was doing basically physical labor, which my wife was very like strongly against me doing physical labor because her dad did for quite a bit. And he had like spinal injuries and all sorts of stuff. So I just felt stuck. And then I had student loan debt. And that same guy that owned the swimming pool company, Jim, I've talked about him a million times probably on this podcast. He convinced me to pay off my debt. He talked to me a lot about like Dave Ramsey stuff. Because I didn't have any financial background. And so he kind of took me under his wing, and he was a big time investor too. He had sold a large chunk of his swimming pool business right before 2008. And so he took that money and he put it in the market like right at 2008. And then he watched it like tank. And then but he kept it in. And then years later, he was, a multimillionaire just because of that, not because of anything else. I mean, he was doing well outside of that, but like just because of that, he would become very wealthy.
Right.
So, he just convinced me basically to like quit my job if I wasn't happy. And he was like, just go do something else. And so I had started writing blog posts about paying off my student loans after he had taught me a lot of stuff and I paid off my loans. And so I don't know, the blog just kind of picked up traction. Like I was sharing stuff on Facebook and, people seemed to like it, and I liked writing. And I had been saving. After I paid off my debt, I'd saved up some money to have an emergency fund and everything. And I was ready to quit teaching. I didn't really know what I was going to do next, but I knew I couldn't do that anymore. And I was only 3 years in. And he basically was just like, you need to quit your job. Just do it. Like, you're young, you don't have kids. There's never going to be a better time for you to like just go and figure things out. And so I did. I went in the next day and I quit my job after he had that conversation with me. And then that was kind of how Millennial Money Man was born. But
that's wild. Just thinking about going in and resigning. Like, was it
was
during,
awesome.
I mean, my husband's a teacher, and so I know about like the contract periods, like when they offer contracts. So was it during a normal kind of a natural time to resign, or was it just like middle of the year, peace out?
So it was April when I did that, I believe. And so the school year ran through early June.
Okay.
It was either late May or early June. And so I still had to stay at the job.
Okay. Okay.
And honestly, like, at the time, like the person that had hired me, he had been promoted to be the fine arts director for the district, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He was such a good band director, such a good leader. I didn't appreciate him in his time because I was very young and I thought that I knew everything. Looking back, I look at my time with him very fondly. I learned a lot from him because he was just a very good man. And
Right.
I'm talking about him like he's passed away. He's still alive, but he's a good man and he was a good leader, and he gave me space to like be immature, and like,
Mm-hmm.
but I learned a lot from him. But when he was promoted, they replaced him, and I didn't really get along with the new guy. Like, it just, and he's also a very good man. But we just really saw things differently. And like, I wasn't his pick for the percussion program and stuff. So it was just like, in addition to not liking the job, I also like just the working environment wasn't great. A lot of conflict and stuff like that. So when I went in and I resigned, it was basically, I had a conversation with him first, and that was super awkward because it was just me and him in the band hall late at night. And I was just like, hey man, I'm going to leave. I'm going to do this Millennial Money Man thing. And he tried to kind of talk me out of it because he was like, you're young. Like, once you make this decision, it's going to be hard for you to get back into teaching. And like, what if you fail and all this stuff? And I was like, nah, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. I had like no fear, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
because I was so young and I didn't have a whole lot of responsibilities. And then we like very awkwardly walked out to the parking lot together in silence after I told him I was leaving. Um, and and so then after that, like the next day I went in, I talked to the assistant principal, and then I talked to the principal, and did the formal resignation and all that. But I still had to stay through the end of the year, which
Right.
was the freaking best. That was the most amazing thing. Like that experience of like however many weeks that was, like 8 weeks or whatever, where I didn't have to do shit. Like it was, I walked
Those poor
in and it's,
children.
well, after, I mean, I still taught, that was the part I liked, but it was like, I told the kids I was leaving and all of that stuff. And I talked to the kids so much about personal finance because I was like
Hmm.
preaching that stuff. Like I was teaching it on the whiteboard. Like, what do you do with credit card debt and what, like all this stuff. And they loved it. And it was really cool. So like they all saw like a passion that in me. And so like most of them, and I actually still have letters from them. I found them the other day.
Wow.
And all of them were like, just so supportive. Like it was cool that like teenagers are like really cool in that way. Like when they see you doing something big, like they generally support you. They're not like
And
adults.
they're honest. Like
Yes,
kids are always more honest than adults. So
for
they're going to
sure.
tell you if they say it like that, good job, we believe in you. It's not a
Yeah,
lie.
it's not. And it was every adult that I talked to for the most part, with a few exceptions, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to do that. That's so risky. That's so dangerous. What if you fail? Every kid is like, you're doing what you want to do. That's amazing. Like you're gonna make it. Like you're gonna like they're
Right.
so cool because the world hasn't beaten them down yet. So like they don't,
Hmm.
they just everything is possibilities for them. So like I had a great time with the kids. Like they thought it was awesome. Um, but like during the day, it was like I did all of that stress of having to deal with people that were always on me about stuff and the layers of like bureaucracy and all of that. It just all went away, and I could just go have fun every day and come home. And I was even there when they interviewed my replacements. Like I sat in the room next door and like just hung out while they brought all these people in, and then yeah, eventually I left, and I remember driving out of the parking lot and feeling like this is like a new adventure.
Right.
And then everything was like really really hard after that. Like it was the reality of like, oh, I don't make any money anymore. Like barely any money anymore. That hit
So
very
this
quickly.
is, and that's when you started. Did you start Millennial Money Man first, or did you start doing digital marketing first?
So I had started Millennial Money Man first, and then the jeweler that did my wife's engagement ring, he had been asking me questions about like hey man, like are my people doing a good job? Because I knew how to run websites, and
Hmm.
obviously with Millennial Money Man, like I knew how to kind of navigate a website. He was actually a reader, because after I bought the engagement ring from him, he like followed me on Facebook and he saw what I was posting, and he had a lot of credit card debt. I think he had like $70,000 of credit card debt that he paid off, and he was big into personal finance
Hmm.
too, and he was also obviously an entrepreneur, and so like he knew that I was what I was doing with Millennial Money Man, so he started kind of asking me advice, and I would just get like a message from him every once in a while, like, "Hey, dude, can you check out this website and tell me?" He's like, "I'm paying these marketing people a lot of money, and I don't know if they're doing the right things," and like his website was jacked up. Like it was just, it was like malpractice almost. Like and he
Oh,
wasn't a tech savvy person at all, which is how a lot of, local business owners are.
right.
And so he just started asking me for advice. And, right, probably like after I had resigned, but like right before my last day, he asked me to do a freelance article for him. And actually he talked to the marketing people, and he was like, "Hey, I want to see, this guy's a really good writer. I want to see if he can do some stuff for our blog." And this was back when like SEO mattered a whole lot. And so they gave me a test article to do about pink diamonds. And I didn't know anything about any of that stuff, but I just did a bunch of research and I wrote this article, and they loved it. And so they were basically like, "Hey, we'll start paying you." I don't remember what it was, like maybe $100 an article or
And
something.
this was the marketing agency or the jeweler?
The jeweler, but it was
Okay. Okay.
he had hired like a contractor in
Oh,
house, kind of
gotcha.
like almost like a family friend sort of person. And so they
Sure.
hired me. They kept me away from all the other stuff. Like they didn't want me to have logins to anything or anything like that, but they wanted me to write
Right.
articles for them. And so I just I think I was doing a couple of articles a month maybe for them. And so like
Hmm.
it was like right when I left my teaching job, like I got I got a foot in the door with like some of these articles. And then it was like, I don't know. I want to say it was like, it's hard to remember this kind of stuff because it was so long ago, but it was like maybe 3-4 months later. Sergio, the guy that owns Jonathan's Fine Jewelers in Houston, just a little plug to him. He
Are
reached
they
out and he was
still in
like,
business?
oh yeah.
Oh,
They're
that's
great
awesome.
business. He was just like, hey, I really, I'm going to move on from these marketing people. Would you want to do it for me? Like, can you manage the website? And like, I had made like nothing from Millennial Money Man. Like I was still cranking out articles and I was like marketing myself and doing all the stuff. And it had not picked up any real traction. And so I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. And he's like, how much are you going to charge me? And I remember like I was I had Jim, the guy at the pool shop. He had let me use an office he had this building. And since he had already wound down his business, like he just had like empty rooms in his office building. And so I was mowing the yard, or he had like a couple of acres of land that the building was on. And so I was mowing that in exchange for rent to be able to like have an office space there because I couldn't afford to actually pay him anything. So like, I think that day, like I'd probably like mowed and then I was like in my office there and I was talking to Sergio and he asked me how much I wanted to charge him. And I just made up a number. Like I should have been like, well, let me get back to you. I just said $3,000 a month and waited like just silent, and then he came
Uh-huh.
back and he's like, yeah, that number doesn't scare me. Let's do it. And I was like, oh crap, you can make money
That's
on your
amazing.
own.
Yeah.
Um, and so like very quickly, like I kind of like replaced a big chunk of my teaching
Mm-hmm.
income, because at that time, like that was like $3,000 top line revenue, but like I didn't have
Right.
any expenses, like there was nothing. So it was just like all profit. And, and so I did that. And then I think like September that same year, it was somewhere around there. CNBC called me randomly. Kathleen Elkins from CNBC, who's, I don't know if she's still a reporter there or not, but she like emailed me and was like, hey, can we jump on a phone call? I want to talk about your student loan story. And then she called me and I did a really long interview with her, with her. And she like really dug deep into like my student loan story. And I guess what they were doing at the time was CNBC Make It was like,
Oh, yeah.
they were doing these stories on people. And I think she had come across me on Twitter because I was pretty
Mm-hmm.
active on Twitter back then. And yeah, she was like, okay, cool. We're going to run this story. I need to see proof of your student loan payoff stuff. And so I had to send a bunch of documentation in and then that went live. And then all of a sudden, like I got a ton of traffic from that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started having like student loan affiliate partners reach out to me. Like all of a sudden, like things started happening with Millennial Money Man. It was like,
Right.
it just kind of like that time of just like grinding, all of a sudden it was like an opportunity like showed up. And so then I took advantage of that and um, I just kept going, but it gave me a big credibility boost and I started making money from the site. And so, and I had also gotten a few more digital marketing clients at the time. So I was doing like, I think at the time I had like a deer meat processor, which was a really funny one. Like, and then I had a lawyer and then I had a guy that wrote, marching band drill, which is like the
Okay.
formations that the kids do on the field. And so like I was like running Facebook ads for all these people and doing all this digital marketing stuff all by myself. I didn't have any help. And so I did both of those for a while and then
About
you
how
know,
many hours a week do you think you were working back then?
I don't know, probably I I probably was doing, I mean, that's always hard because I'm not great at time tracking.
Mm-hmm.
What I know that I was doing was kind of what I do now, where I was like, when I wake up, I start working, and then I do stuff all day long until like 7 or 8 p.m., and then I go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many like actual physical work hours was it? I don't know, but it consumed like
Right.
my entire life. Like that's how I've always worked. That's how I've always been. And so I was doing a lot. I was probably spending probably about half and half. Like the jeweler client actually took quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
because it was a larger business and like they really needed like a lot of marketing work. The other clients didn't really take that much time. That was more, a couple hours a week, maybe. And then everything else was just the blog. And it was mostly me writing and just like shit posting on Twitter or something. I don't even, my marketing strategy was like not great back then. But I was also running a lot of Facebook ads for Millennial Money Man. And that was like my main traffic source after all the CNBC stuff. And I got on like Business Insider and then CNBC again. And didn't have a lot of SEO traffic or anything because I didn't know anything about that, like for like how to really compete with SEO.
Right.
I knew how to do it locally because I was working with local clients, but I didn't know how to do it like on a national stage. But
One thing really quickly on the Facebook ads, at that point, how were you learning how to do the marketing work was it just for these clients? Was it like literally Googling, like, how do I run Facebook ads? Or, I mean, I know you were doing stuff for Millennial Money Man, so probably some
yeah,
trial and error, but,
it was mostly trial and error.
okay.
I just, I hadn't taken any courses. I hadn't done any, I probably looked up some free courses or something online.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really just doing stuff. And that
Right.
was, fortunately the jeweler was like very cool about letting me just experiment with things. Like he was just, I don't know. He was awesome. I still talk to him to this day. Like he's just he gave me like, had he not given me that shot, I don't think I would have done anything.
Yeah.
But he gave me a lot of grace and a lot of like space to figure things out. And he knew that I didn't have like formally trained experience. He was just like, I think you're talented. I think you can figure this out. And so I did a lot of experimenting and testing, and I was doing the same thing on the Millennial Money Man side. And like, I was figuring out like these weird hacks, like with Millennial Money Man at the time, like I was posting stuff organically on Facebook. And then I was essentially like just taking the stuff that I was running organically, and I would pick the ones that did really well organically. And then I would run ads to those blog posts, and they were like cheap. It was like, I think I was getting, probably like 10-cent clicks or something like that. But then I kind of noticed like, oh, these ones that have a specific click-through rate, like if they have 10% click-through rate or better, and I run ads to them, those cost like a penny or two per click. And so I would start running ads to those. And then so basically for like, a few $1,000s a month, I was able to get like massive amounts of traffic with the Facebook stuff that I was doing. And then that made it easier to go and negotiate like affiliate deals
Right.
with like, all sorts of people, or just like sponsorships or whatever. Cause it was like, I could say like, I've got, X amount of 100,000 views per month on these blog posts. And back then, like tracking wasn't the same. Like now, like tracking is really sophisticated. Back then it really wasn't. And so they were mostly paying for like views. Like most of the marketing agencies that had budget to do these sponsorship deals with or affiliate stuff, like they were doing either cost per click deals on the affiliate side, where it was like if somebody just clicks on the link, they'll pay you like $1 to $3 or something. Like they would just pay you like that. And I would actually the affiliate companies, a lot of them, like I would get paper checks, like paper handwritten checks from them. I feel like old talking about this. This is kind of funny. But yeah, I was just experimenting and figuring things out. But what was happening, what I didn't realize was happening at the time, I was running so many Facebook ads, and I was running it to like top, 5 things you should do with your money before you turn 30, or 10 signs that you are in debt, or 10 signs that you need to get out of debt now, or something like that. It was like these very, generic articles, but they had just performed really well organically. So I was running traffic to them. And I had an exit pop on all of the blog posts that was like, join the newsletter. And then it was like, yes, put your email in, or no, thanks, I'm rich.
I remember that. It was so funny.
I know. And it's like, and I would get people that would like email me and they were like upset about it. Like what a rude thing to say, like, I'm just trying to pay off my student loans and you're making me feel bad for not being rich. And I thought it was funny. So, but
it stands out,
Yeah, it stood out, but I had like no idea. And I feel like this has been most of my career. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just doing things.
Yeah.
And I was building a really great email list while I was doing that. Like I had this super engaged email list, and all I did with the email list was send out the blog posts. Like I had this like newsletter template, and it would have like the picture of the blog post, I think like an excerpt of the first paragraph, and then read more. And that was it. And so by doing that though, I had really built up this like really great audience of people, and I never really sold anything to them. Like I just gave them content for like a long time until 2018 ish, which is kind of the next part of the story. But, I just I just warmed that audience, like to use marketing terms. Like I was just doing really affordable lead gen, even though not very efficient, but very affordable. And I was warming up that audience with content. And back then I wrote whatever the hell I wanted to. Like it was not optimized for anything. It was like totally ridiculous stuff sometimes, but it was real. Like it was just like real thoughts. It was like whatever my thoughts were that day, I just dumped them out on the blog post. And so I think maybe late 2017, Mike Yonda, who is my business partner over at Laptop Empires and who I had gone to high school with, he was doing he was a fitness coach, I think at the time, like an online fitness coach, which was kind of probably a new concept back then. He had been an attorney. He started this fitness business because he got in shape, and he started this online fitness business. And then he started running ads for other fitness coaches. And he called me, like he wanted to talk on the phone. And I think he just wanted to talk. I couldn't tell if he was like trying to get me as a client or something, or if he just wanted to chat, like as, online business owner to online business owner. That's his side of the story, that he just wanted to chat. I was like, I think he was trying to sell me on something.
Good for him.
But yeah, good for him. He should have done it. And we started talking. And at the time I was going to create a course because I had seen Michelle Schroeder, who you know very well, your sister-in-law. Yes. She had put out a course on affiliate marketing, and she did blog income reports, which I also did at the time too. Far less revenue coming in, but she was doing these reports, and she had done this course and it blew up. And I was like, I can do a course. Like I can teach people how to do all this local digital marketing stuff that I'm doing. And that seems like a great way to make money. And so I started putting together the Make Money Marketing course. And I did that because it could be $M from, Millennial Money Man. I thought it was being very clever. And it took me forever. I didn't test the concept. I didn't I don't know. All I did was dump all of the stuff that I kind of knew about digital marketing. And it was so bloated. It was this massive mega course on all of these different things. And so as Mike and I kind of started talking more, I was like, dude, what do you think I should put in this Facebook portion of the program? Because I can talk about what I've done with Millennial Money Man, or, what I've done with these local local businesses. And he was just like, dude, you should just do a course on Facebook ads. What you're doing is a tactical mistake. You're trying to teach everything. And he was right. He's like, you're trying to teach everything. You should just teach one thing and teach that really well. And I knew he had really, really great Facebook ad experience because he ran an agency running Facebook ads. And so I was just like, why don't we just do this together? We could just we can partner up on this thing and just launch it to the Millennial Money Man list. And then it was Thanksgiving time. He took some time to think about it. We got back together and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then we decided to launch it in January, which was 6 weeks away. And we were like, wow, okay, let's get together and put this program together. And so, yeah, within 6 weeks, we had created the Facebook side hustle course. We had hired, Mike was really good friends with Chris Warzakowski. They had met in another online entrepreneurship Facebook group. And he was like, I know this guy, Chris. He's a great direct response email copywriter, which I didn't even know what direct response copywriting was. And I just trusted Mike. He was like, this guy's great. He launches stuff all the time. He can do our sales page for us. And so I think we paid Chris $5,000 or something to write the whole sales page, which is cheap. I mean, he does not do anything for $5,000 probably these days. And I actually remember, this is a funny story, Chris, is this okay? I'm just word vomiting everything that I know.
This is great. Yeah. I'll interject if I have questions or anything, but it's funny that you're bringing up Chris right now, because for some reason I was thinking about him the other day, just how you and Mike got to the point where you're good friends and have the group chat now.
Yeah. So I remember at the end of that conversation, Chris, he told us yeah, it's going to be $5,000. And then at the end of it, he was like, hey, also I'd like to get a percentage of the course sales. Oh. And I remember being pissed because I was like, I had never even heard of anything like that. I was like, this guy's trying to screw us. He's trying to take our profit, And so that was kind of a big deal. And then Chris apologized and said he didn't want to do that anymore, which I don't know. It might've been fair to do that with him. I don't know. But anyway, so Chris put together the sales page for it. And then we launched it in January. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had never done a course launch before. I don't think Mike had done one to this level before. There were about 13,000 people on the Millennial Money Man email list. and it crushed. Like it was just, we sent out, actually what happened the morning of the launch, we were still putting pieces of the course together because we hadn't figured it
Amazing.
all out. And we were also trying to figure out how to log into the course because we realized we didn't know really how to log in and like make sure that people could actually get the course like after they bought it. And so like we were going to launch, I think at like 9 a.m. And right minutes before that, we're trying to figure out like, oh God, like how do you log into this thing? Like, how do you get access to it? And are the emails going to go out after they buy and all this stuff? So we like frantically figured that out. And Mike was also taking one of his friends to the airport that had stayed with them. And it was like a total disaster. Like it was not a well-oiled machine exactly. But we launched it and it was like the first day. This was on a Thursday because we'd done pre-launch emails Monday through Thursday or Monday through Wednesday. And then Thursday, I think we did 25,000 in revenue, something like
Wow.
that, which was absolutely mind blowing. I'd never even seen that kind of money for it, ever. Um,
The
and
course was
then
what, 297 or 397 when
it's
you first launched?
247 back then.
247. Wow.
247, the initial launch. So we had a bunch of people join. I don't know what that means. Like 100 people must have joined it, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day we did 12,000 something. And we were like, oh, it's dying. Like, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
going away. And Chris was like kind of telling us like, no guys, like what happens is you get 25% of sales the first day, and then you get 25% between the next 2 days, and then you get 50% on the last day. But
Wow.
we were so depressed on Friday. We were like, God, this was so awesome. We thought we were going to like just crush, and all of a sudden it wasn't going to work anymore.
Which is
And
crazy
then,
because that's like, what was it? You said 25 and then like 25. So that's $50,000.
well, it was 25, yeah, 25 and 12. So,
Oh,
but
37 or
still, that's more
something.
money
Yeah.
than either of us had ever like made in a quick period of time before. But it's
Right.
amazing how fast your expectations about money can change.
Right.
Like
Right.
we did 25 the first day and we expected we were going to do that or more, even though that's not how those things work the next
Right.
day. And so I remember being really bummed on Friday. And then Saturday it picked up a little bit, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like we probably did like 15,000 or 16,000 or something. And we were like, okay, like this will be fine. Like we'll be okay. And then the last day was Sunday, and the cart closed at midnight, and we just had like steady sales all day long. It was crazy, and we were just like super pumped. And then Chris was like, "Oh, dude, I'm going to do one more email." Because he saw how well it was doing. He's like, let's do one more email and we'll send it out at like 8 p.m. That's like a last chance. And it was like it was like deadline. Facebook side hustle was closing or something. And it was like very, very simple copy and everything. And we sent that. And then Mike always did like celebration bottles of wine and stuff. Like that was a tradition he had for his own business. So he was like, Bobby,
Uh-huh.
go get some wine. And so we had this whole thing, and I've told the story many times, but like we had this whole thing where I went and I was like trying to pick a bottle of wine. I didn't know anything about wine. And he was like, get something expensive. And I was like, I had never bought something that was like not on the bottom shelf. Like that was
Mm-hmm.
my wine experience. And I was on the phone with him and I was like, what about this bottle? What about this bottle? And he's like, dude, check your Stripe notifications. Cause I was like, I don't want to spend $50 or more on a bottle of wine. That seems stupid. He's like, check your Stripe notifications. And we had made like thousands of dollars from the time I walked from the car to come into the grocery store. And I was like,
It's
he was like,
wild.
just get the bottle. So we bought a bottle of Papillon, which I have it. You can't see I have a cool wall that you can't see, unfortunately, but I've got it on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, basically when it was all said and done, we did I always forget the exact number. It was like 130 something $1,000 of sales in a weekend. And it was insane. Like the group entered, we had like
Bananas.
450 people had joined or something. Like it was just like this
Wow.
crazy experience. And so then Mike and I decided to make it a little bit more official, and actually like create laptop empires. And we closed. Actually, we might have created laptop empires after March because we closed it down in February. And then we
Mm-hmm.
were super bummed in February because we had recurring payments for the coaching group on the back end, and we only did $25,000 in February. It's so
Oh.
crazy to listen back to it because it's so stupid. The whole thing is so stupid that we were even worried
No,
about it.
it's not. It's funny, like, so one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm taking some notes on like based on your story and your experiences, like what are we doing now that would help people with these different things? And one of the notes that
Mhm.
I just made is that when you do it alone, you don't know how to manage your expectations because this is the first time you've ever done something like this.
Yeah.
So you thinking that The what was it? The percentage of income for the launch should have been like the second day, it should have been higher. Whereas
Mhm.
industry standards are actually, this is when you're going to have the biggest bump in revenue from that launch. And just thinking like these expectations that you have as somebody who's brand new starting out, no nobody in your ear helping you in your ear, that has like a negative connotation, but nobody like on your side supporting you with
Mhm.
managing your expectations, how frustrating and disappointing it is
Yeah.
when but they're unrealistic, and I think
Oh,
that's just based on your experience. What I'm hearing is that like one of the things that we do well right now is we like help people with those things like industry standards so that you
yeah.
aren't caught off guard. You are
Yes.
your things feel realistic. So,
Yeah. And I think just even being surrounded by, I could have never launched because I did launch, I skipped this part, but I did launch the Make Money Marketing Program in
oh, okay.
addition, actually at the
Mhm.
same time that I launched Facebook Side Hustle. Um, what had
Oh.
happened was I had opened up a wait list for that program. And then also at the same time, I had like probed my audience on Facebook, like, would you be interested in something that just taught Facebook ads? The response to that was like so much higher. And
Hmm.
but I still had this thing that I had created. So I was like, I'm just gonna launch them at the same time and see what happens. And I launched the Make Money Marketing course and I made like $4,000 from that. I didn't have any, I didn't have like the expertise that Chris had for direct response copyright. It was just like, here's the course, it's open. Like it was very,
Right.
no warm up, no anything. And had I just launched that course, I probably, maybe I would have made ten or $15,000 or something, because I diverted a lot of the attention away from that course to Facebook Side Hustle. But it was just like the difference between like working with Mike and Chris, who are way more experienced marketers than me,
Mhm.
versus me doing it by myself and just trying to figure it out. Like the results were drastically different. Like one
Right.
did well over six figures in revenue and the other one did $4,000 in revenue. The only difference was because I had talked to people that actually knew what the heck was going on and had worked
Mhm.
with those people. So that's probably another lesson in there because that I didn't know what I didn't know. Like there's so much to marketing
Yeah.
and there's so much to creating products and selling them. And all I had ever done is written blog posts and did local digital marketing, which is way different. So that was interesting,
Mhm.
to look at the difference between those two programs and how they performed. And also Facebook Side Hustle was just a much better program. Like it was way
Right.
more focused, way more actionable, um, taught one specific skill really, really well. And we had people that what the beauty of that program is that we had people that got clients like right away. Like they
Mhm.
came in, we had people that were coming in and then like the next day they were like, oh, I talked to my friend and that runs this business and he just hired me. So it was like, and it's easier to do that when you have so much volume. Like if you have 450 people come to a program, it's like more of them are going to have success. And so what happened
Right.
after January was like, we had testimonials like instantly from people that took the
Mhm.
program and made money. And so we turned around and relaunched it in March. And it did the almost identical numbers. Like it almost did the exact same thing. The price was a little bit higher. I think we raised it to 297 for that. Um, so after that, like Mike and I were like, hey, let's create a brand around this. Like let's, laptop empires. We had a lot of fun doing that. The early days were wild because we had way too much revenue and didn't have any like discipline on on how to spend that revenue. So we were just doing like stupid things that I've said this before, but like we had a cartoon artist on retainer to draw pictures of our teddy bear mascot that we had created. It was just like it was the most fun thing probably ever in business because it was just like we had seemingly unlimited cash flow and
Mhm.
a lot of fun, cool ideas. And so but we also wasted massive amounts of money. So,
Right.
not massive, but we wasted money on some stupid things. And, but anyway, we made it more official. And that was where I kind of actually got to the first like real friction point in my business because I had Millennial Money Man, which was, a successful personal finance blog. And then I had the digital marketing stuff that I was doing. And then I had Laptop Empires that was making more revenue than all the other ones. But the problem that Laptop Empires had was that it was making revenue based on Millennial Money Man. Like all of our
Mm.
traffic and all of our email leads and everything that was like fueling that business came from Millennial Money Man's email list. And so I was like, I don't know if I divert, and this took me forever to like work through with Mike and just personally to work through is like, do I focus on Millennial Money Man? Do I focus on Laptop Empires? Do I continue doing this digital marketing stuff? Like, I don't really know what to do, and you only have so much time. So eventually I let the digital marketing clients go. Although I stayed with the jeweler for quite a bit longer because I called him and I was like, hey man, I can't do your account anymore. Like I can't make it work. I've got too many other things going on. And
Right.
he was like, you need to start learning how to hire people. And he's like, there's no reason to let go of my account because you don't have time. He's like, you're at the next stage in business. Like you need to learn how to hire somebody and have them manage my account. And so I did. I went out and I hired somebody, and it was actually my first W-2 employee, but they were part-time. And part of their responsibilities was to help manage that client. So that was like the start of this, like, oh, I need to hire people journey.
Right.
And so we ended up hiring a ton of contractors for Laptop Empires. I was still just running Millennial Money Man kind of solo with like a little bit of help. And that might've been around the time that you came in. I'm not sure. And I just kind of ran it like that, but I had this like split where it was like, I was really not focused on personal finance as much anymore. Because my life had changed so much in so many ways since like I didn't,
Right.
It was hard for me to write about like what to do, like how to pay off student loans on a low salary, which was like a lot of my content. It's hard to write about that when, one, I didn't have a steady income. I made more money than I used to. And I didn't have student loans anymore. So
Right.
it's kind of like, I just felt like this, like, I don't know what to do with this because it doesn't reflect my life. And the only reason it was successful is because I was I was documenting my life pretty much. So I kind of felt that strain a little bit. And then we also hired way too many contractors for Laptop Empires. We had like 20 contractors. And so then I started learning about like, oh, we need to manage our money, quite a bit better. And we were trying to diversify away from Facebook side hustle. So anyway, eventually I let go of the digital marketing client because it still just was like too much of a pain, to try to manage that and all the other things I was doing. But then I made the decision of like, I want to grow Millennial Money Man. Like, and I, for whatever reason, I was just like, there's a lot of opportunity here. We started doing affiliate revenue. And we started making more money with that. And so I had cash to like spend on an employee. And that was really where I started hiring more that was my first full-time employee hire. Hired somebody to come and do the operations, and you were already there doing freelancing work and editing and stuff for us. And then you came in as the head of content. And then we started on that journey of trying to grow Millennial Money Man. And, we still had Laptop Empires, and it was just kind of going along. Like it wasn't growing. We had a lot of trouble figuring out like the next new idea. That was really difficult for Ellie, for us to like figure out like because when you catch lightning in a bottle, it's like, how do you do that again? And Mike also had his other pursuits too. Like he had his marketing agency. He wanted to build his own personal brand. So we kind of like, I would say we kind of put Laptop Empires on the back burner a little bit and started focusing on our own stuff more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was like, we're going to grow Millennial Money Man to the biggest personal finance brand in the world or whatever. I don't know what I used to say back then, but
I think it was about that. Yeah.
It was probably about that. But that brought the next problem in the business. I was like, one, do I want to be Millennial Money Man forever? Because I'd already been struggling with that. Like, it's not that I don't care about personal finance. I care about it, but it was like, I don't want to be Dave Ramsey, for example, at like 65 years old, talking about the exact same things that I'm talking about now. Because if you look at Dave Ramsey, he literally just talks about the same stuff over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I don't have a personality type like that. Like I wish I did, where I could just like do the same thing forever and just be consistent with it. Because clearly, like, I mean, I don't know, their business does like $400 million a year now. Like,
they're doing okay.
Great. They're doing okay. But it was kind of like that band director where it was like that I saw the percussion director that I saw years ago. I was like, I don't want to like just be doing the same thing 30 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And also I felt like I had made a mistake from a branding perspective, and I had called it Millennial Money Man. So there was like, no, it had to be about me, or we had to
Yes.
find some weird
Yes.
creative way to like remove me from the company, but it's still called Millennial Money Man. And I didn't want to be the focal point of the business, because I was like, what if something happens to me? Or what if I don't want to do this anymore, and I'm going to build this whole brand around like my persona? And that didn't seem right either. So, um, so anyway, that I struggled with that for a very long time, and like how to manage all of them. And then we started Stellar. I might be missing parts of the story now. It's kind of hard to like go back and detail the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, let me see if I can fill in some gaps there. I remember after I was brought on as head of content, we launched a couple of products through Millennial Money Man, the Proofreading Launchpad course, followed up pretty quickly by Brilliant Bookkeeper course,
Mm-hmm.
and then we let's see, 2023, 2024, I think was when we decided that, so from my understanding, so correct me if I'm misremembering, but you were dealing with this whole like, am I going to be Millennial Money Man forever?
Mm-hmm.
And the offering personal finance advice, that's what that brand is. And realizing that really what was more important to you was helping people start and run businesses. Like the personal finance stuff was almost more of like you fell into that because you were paying off student loans
Mm-hmm.
and were just good at writing about that. Whereas what was really important was being able to grow a business. That was important now, but also, I remember you talking about Jim and how just his like coaching and
Mm-hmm.
mentorship early on meant so much. And that you wish you had that. You wish more people had that. So, how do we build a brand that can encompass what we're doing with Millennial Money Man, how we've launched these courses, and can really grow to support people from the beginning of their journey to
Yeah.
one day they want to exit. And we haven't figured out that exit part yet for
Right.
people,
Right.
but that's how I remember things happening. And so just over the past 2 years, it's been really like setting up Stellar as a brand and then figuring out the positioning of everything else in Stellar, and just really focusing more on what we do well at Stellar now, which is helping people. It's our core focus: start and scale businesses with profitable programs, practical
Oh,
solutions, and
wow.
delightfully weird communities. I got it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, I did struggle. I was really struggling with that for a while. Just that kind of dichotomy of I was, it's the same thing that I've always done, where it's like my experience now is that we are selling these courses through Laptop Empires, and we're selling Brilliant Bookkeeper, we're selling Proofreading Launchpad. And it was just like, I enjoy taking those people that want to start a business and then seeing them grow. Like
Yeah.
Zoe from Brilliant Bookkeeper is a perfect example, where she came in and really in not a lot of time is like becoming a bookkeeping expert, and is growing her business and learning how to charge clients, over $1,000 a month for her retainers. And like, you just see like these really fulfilling, life-changing stories that come out of these programs that we were creating. And I was like, I want to help those people. Because there's so
Mm-hmm.
many there's so many levels beyond just like you run into these different things where it's like at, $0 to $5,000 a month, there's like all of these problems of like, how do I get clients? And like, how do I just get money? And then all of a sudden it becomes like, well, how do I get more clients, but not spread myself too thin? And then, around 10,000, it becomes like, how do I start hiring and delegating to people? And like, it was all these problems that I had been going through. And so I like helping people with the problems that I'm currently going through. But I also recognize that like, I can't be the person that is the sole focus of this business, because now I have employees, and like, you're more responsible for like, it's not like you're responsible for other people's livelihoods. Like they're responsible for that, but it's like you feel like you need to set people up for the best path to success and growth in their career. And so I was like, I got kind of interested in this idea of like some kind of like legacy brand that didn't necessarily need me. Um,
Right.
but but could grow and something that like we could have a really big vision for that might take 20 or 30 years to actually realize. Hopefully not that long, but might take like a decade or 2 decades or more to like actually realize, but it's something that like we can build over the long term that's like sustainable and doesn't rely on just me. And that's kind of how, and the fact that we just had multiple things we were doing is like, okay, well, maybe we should just wrap all of this up into Stellar Brands. And then we,
It felt like the Venn diagram of all the things, where do they fit together? And in the center is like starting a business, starting running the business,
yeah,
rather than just a side hustle. Because I think that was one thing that we learned over the past couple of years is like there's a lot of potential in a side hustle. You can start one of these programs and make money on the side, but there's a potential to actually quit your job and do
yeah,
this and like focus on actually being an entrepreneur, living life. I think some of these are kind of like generic terms, but like living life on your own terms and like
yeah,
finding your freedom and flexibility. But the reality is, those are true things. Like it doesn't mean it's easy, but we can support you in that, like those difficult moments
yeah,
that come along
yeah.
with it.
Yeah. And so like I sat down and I mapped it all out of just like where we can go with this. And it's going to change over the years, but it was basically like, well, actually we had the TBL acquisition in there as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so that was another interesting one because I had been a client at the bottom line for about probably 6 years.
So you
And
started, I'm glad you mentioned that. So launch Facebook side hustle, started Millennial Money Man, launched Facebook side hustle, started Laptop Empires, and then probably came on with TBL.
yeah, like probably, I would guess, I don't know, it was probably a year. How long have I think I've been with them for 6 years. This is
Okay.
something like Jess or Ashley would know because like
Right.
but it was a while, but yeah, it was when we were running Laptop Empires. And I think that we actually were clients with TBL through Laptop Empires first.
Okay.
And then it turned into, I have a family management company and I've got, some other things. And so it was like, they had me on 3 accounts. Like they got me pretty good for services, but, I just became a client and I liked it a lot. And I felt like we needed some real financial direction with Laptop Empires. And I needed to know how to run, now that I was, trying to grow Millennial Money Man, like I needed to understand the finances because I saw like, if you hire 20 contractors like we did at LE and you have no financial plan really for how to manage that, and you don't know your numbers and you don't know like how to actually grow a business and how to do it and keep it on the rails, like things can get real tight real quick because like people take up a lot of money, whether it's contractors or W-2 employees. Like that becomes your biggest expense like right away as soon as you
One
start
of
hiring.
one of the things that, I mean, I wasn't in any of the, meetings really when we were clients of TBL, except for later years. But one of the things that they did really well that I know coached you on, and then ultimately like Stellar, were things like adopting an operating system for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't seem like advice you'd get from, I mean, to me at the time, didn't seem like traditional advice you'd get from like a bookkeeping and advisory agency, but
Yeah.
it's so important if you do want to learn how to run your business efficiently, if you do want to be able to figure out how to like allocate funds to different things, an operating system is beneficial. Also figuring out how to hire the, dozen plus contractors that you talked about versus like a handful of W-2. These are all financial decisions. I know Jess says every decision is a profit decision.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that seemed really so neat about being involved with TBL then, and how they've like helped shape, and then what we're doing now with them.
Yeah, it was just different. Like I went through on the accounting side of things. I went through like what a lot of business owners go through where, I knew I needed to like manage my QuickBooks and categorize my transactions because I had hired a CPA who didn't specialize in online business or anything like that, but he was a CPA based out of Texas that was a referral from, a friend. And I just felt like it was basically like I did my own bookkeeping and then I sent it to, he got all the stuff around tax time and he did my taxes. But I was like, I can't manage the books. Like, I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. Like, it was complicated, and I was focused on other things. So I started hiring bookkeepers, and like, I hired
Mm-hmm.
one. I had a virtual assistant at the time that was based out of the Philippines, and she was like, I can do books. And I was like, really? And she's like, oh yeah, I used to work at QuickBooks. I don't know if any of that's true, but she started managing my books and did a horrific job
Oh,
doing that, which was not a good idea. So, um, I had gone through some bookkeepers, and then I had, I had this accountant that I didn't really love. And actually, no, I had one accountant before that. That was my friend Jim's accountant.
oh,
And she
okay.
was this, older, very, local accountant, had no idea what I was even doing. All of the stuff that I had to like go into her office to give her my QuickBooks stuff, like in paper, and hand it to her. And I was like,
Amazing.
this doesn't seem congruent with like my online business. Like this seems a little bit off. And that's when I went with another one. He's a great guy. His name's Scott, but he did better, and then he started providing some bookkeeping services. Like he had hired a bookkeeper, but it still
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like, I still was like, I don't really know what the heck is going on with my business finances, really. I know I have to pay taxes, and that stings, but like I don't know how I can like mitigate that, or what I should be doing differently, or whatever. So that was the cool thing about joining TBL, which was a referral from Chris Orzakowski, because he had been a TBL client before. And he was like, hey, Mike and Bobby, like, you should talk to TBL and see what they can do for you. And so we did, and I became a client. And it was just so different. It was like they, handled everything that I needed them to handle, like all the bookkeeping. I got advisory sessions throughout the year. So it was like I got advice on, hey, your expenses are too high in these areas. Like you need to cut some of these things, or like, hey, you really need to do this with your sales to get to where you need to be, or like, here's what we need to do to prepare for tax season, and so that we can make sure that you're not paying too much in tax, and you need to do these things now. And it was like all of a sudden, like I had a much better understanding of the business
Right.
finances, and the taxes were all taken care of, and it was just such a different, better experience. It was more expensive, admittedly, but it was
Sure.
like super worth it. Like it was like all of a sudden I didn't have to worry about that stuff anymore. It was just handled. And
Mm-hmm.
I got meetings with them, several times throughout the year to like really understand what they were doing and how the business was looking, and all of that. And so, I was a client for a long time, and then um, they approached me last year, I think late last year, and said,
Yep.
Marilyn, who was the founder of TBL, she was like, I'm retiring and I'm looking to pass the torch to someone else. And, Jess facilitated a lot of that conversation as well, because she knew Marilyn was looking for somebody to sell it to. And I just had such a good experience. I was like, I understand this business. I understand the business model. I see the need for it. Like,
Right.
I know how valuable this is to other people. And so when they asked me if I would do it, it was kind of like a no brainer. I was like, yeah, I mean I'm not an accountant. Like, I don't know how to run that, but everybody was coming over in the deal. And it had, a leadership team, and, Ashley is, she was their integrator and running their operations, and had Sue already, a fantastic accountant, profit and tax pro. And so it just made a lot of sense. And Marilyn was like, I'm here, I'll
Mm-hmm.
stay on as a consultant with you. And Jess came on as our head of sales. And so it just made a whole lot of sense. I was like, yeah, that we can absolutely do this. But then that made the business picture of like Stellar Brands more complicated, because now all of a sudden it's like,
Mm-hmm.
we've got Millennial Money Man. Somewhere in that area, Mike and I had decided that Stellar Brands could run laptop empires and just manage it.
That was
And then
2023.
yeah, 2023, we did that. And so it's like, we have all these pieces, and now we just added an accounting and advisory firm into the middle of all this. Um, but actually, when we did that, it clicked a lot of things into place for me, because we had the Brilliant
Yeah.
Bookkeeper program, who I had bought from Jess, because she had the idea for this program years ago, but she just hadn't been able to take it to reality. And we had done that at Millennial Money Man, and we launched it, and it was really successful. And it was like, oh, we can own this accounting and advisory firm, and then we can take all of these things that we've done with courses, and we can basically align Brilliant Bookkeeper with the bottom line, because we need talent. Eventually, as TBL grows, like, we're going to need solid bookkeepers, and clients come in
Mm-hmm.
that need bookkeepers that don't necessarily want to pay the bottom line for it, depending on what kind of package they get into and stuff. And it was like, oh, we can do this as like talent acquisition, and also just teaching people how to do the skill, which I was really passionate about, like helping people start a business. And then we can layer in like higher ticket coaching programs where we can take people that are, starting in Brilliant Bookkeeper or at that level, and then move them up to the next level where they're doing like $10,000, $20,000 a month. So we created the Brilliant Pro program. And so then I saw like, we can do this with multiple businesses over time.
Right.
Like we could, and who knows what it ends up actually looking like, but we could buy like a social media marketing agency and then teach people how to do social media marketing. And then we do the higher ticket stuff. And so we can kind of build out this model where one of the things I had been craving a lot, and part of the reason I decided to do all of that, with Millennial Money Man, we had so much of our revenue had shifted to affiliate revenue,
Right.
which was great. It was fantastic. Like it can be, affiliate can be great money. But we were doing a lot of revenue with affiliate, but we were just like, we didn't have anything that was like recurring and stable. It was like, it's all performance, like affiliate stuff is performance-based marketing essentially. And so like you could do well over 6 figures one month from, one affiliate. And then you could do, if they're tracking breaks, you could do nothing the next month. And it was like, we were just running into that over and over again. And it was just like, I want something, I've never had something stable. It's since the digital marketing business that I had. I haven't had for many years, like something that's just like steady and recurring. And I kind of was craving that because I just wanted the stability in the business and something that we can predictably grow. And so TBL did that for us. And
Right.
so that's why I was like, okay, like we can build this up where you have this like steady, predictable revenue that comes in, and then you can expand it with info products that help people in a very deep and meaningful way. And then are way more scalable. Because like an accounting firm is great, but it's hard, it's hard to scale. It's slow. You got to make sure you don't
Yeah.
mess it up. Like you can't
Yeah.
mess up fulfillment for the client. So you can't just add like 100 clients in a month. So you have like the quick growth levers, you've got the steady recurring revenue, and you can package all of the marketing up together where it's like Brilliant Bookkeeper, the bottom line, and Brilliant Pro all make sense together. And then there's also franchise opportunity with the bottom line. It's already set up for that eventually. So you can take your students through this like real growth pattern or, growth track of like starting as a bookkeeper. They get insight from the bottom line as we work with clients and we teach them that. Then you work closely with some of those students as they grow. And then eventually you can bring them into the franchise model and they can become like a partner in the bottom line and use all of our marketing strategies and everything that we do. We're not there yet on that, but it's in
Yeah.
the pipeline eventually. I was like, we can do this with multiple businesses, but then we can also, as Stellar Brands grows, like we can build out an arm of this that's for, helping pair entrepreneurs together in masterminds. And because that was another thing that was really helpful. I started getting into mastermind stuff, and they're hard to find, and it's hard to find ones that that are going to help. And it's like networking. So like there's this whole,
Yeah.
eventually there's this whole arm of Stellar Brands that's going to be like networking. And so that's like masterminds where we facilitate masterminds of people getting together and growing their businesses together, and then doing live events eventually, conferences for like our students and other people that want to learn how to grow their businesses. And then there's, wealth planning, because that's a very difficult thing as a business owner when you have fluctuating revenue. Like, how do you plan for the future? And then exit planning, and I'm not sure how the wealth and exit planning work together, but it's basically like all the things that I've experienced and that have been real trouble or real problems for me. We can do all of those things at Stellar Brands. It's going to take time and it's complicated. It's not
Right.
the most simple business model. But there are some like real bare bones things that we're doing, like having a service-based business with the bottom line. So that's what it's turned into now. That's the big vision for it. And I think that'll tweak over time. Like we'll make little adjustments to it as we kind of learn more things. But that's a company that I think can be $100 million plus company a year, and really
Yeah.
help people in a very deep way. And which is one of the things I think is really cool about what we do. I think we actually do help people, whether it's through the bottom line, like giving somebody that confidence in their business to where they know what they're going to pay themselves and they know how they're going to grow it. They know why, where they're leaking money. Like that changes people's lives because business is stressful
Yes.
when you don't know those things. But also taking our students and our high ticket coaching students, and like we can transform a lot of lives along the way. We can help people, and then we can really help them solve those main problems that pop up as they grow. And we can
Yeah.
always just kind of be that ecosystem that they're involved in.
It's Yeah, so much. It's like exciting to be reminded of that sometimes because when you're in the day to day, it's like, what are we doing? Like this feels hard, but then remembering what we're doing it all for.
Mhm.
And it's been really neat, I think, over the past year or so, especially since bringing um, Laptop Empires and TBL in, seeing that business model start to prove itself out with we've had some we have a Facebook side hustle student who grew his business, started with that like under $300 product, grew
Yeah.
his business, came on as a TBL client, and now he's doing coaching and stuff. So this is
Mhm.
like this works, not following, supporting people through this larger life cycle of their business and entrepreneurship. Um, and that meaningful part has been something that I have really loved to see here at Stellar,
Mhm.
moving away from affiliate marketing. You can do good for people through affiliate marketing, but
It's
you can
soulless
actually,
though.
it is like it's
It
soulless
feels
and like,
soulless.
yes, and it's you can actually transform people's lives, whether it's they just need to make an extra $1,000 or they actually really hate their corporate job so much and they want to get out of it and they want to be able to continue to provide for their family in a meaningful way. Like those things can all happen here
Mhm.
at different stages. And so yeah, I love it. I love all of it. I'm excited to be here. I do
It's
want to
hard though.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, it is difficult. But I do want to touch on a couple of things throughout this because we're over an hour, Bobby, which
Oh,
makes sense because 10 years of,
yeah. I
start to where
probably
we are
skipped a lot.
now.
Yeah.
Um, but just thinking about again, like I said in the beginning, what is it that we want to get out of this stellar story episode of the Money Shop? And as I said, it's really about like how is Stellar built or what does stellar look like based on different points in your experience. And it's not, and I think your experience, while unique, it's also very similar to a lot of people, the vast
Yeah.
majority of business owners. So I have like some notes on kind of like specific points that I think we can tie into where we're at right now. So
Sure.
the digital marketing, I asked you like, how did you get started, or how did you like even learn how to do Facebook ads and stuff? And you were like trial and error. So
Mhm.
we reduce the trial and error. We give you, here is this package that works really well. Um, One thing that's been important is having the people who are coaching in our programs, but also here on the team as like practitioners of the things. Because
Mhm.
as you know, when was the last time? Well, I guess you are running Facebook ads right now for
I do.
Stellar,
Yeah.
but it had been a while in between. And so
Yeah.
it's like, how do we actually talk to those people who are starting in Facebook side hustle course if we're not actually running Facebook ads? And it's like, we're doing that now. Like we can
Yeah.
connect what's happening on the platform currently um, with the course and giving real actionable insights into all of that. I mentioned already the kind of the expectations versus reality of things. Like, because if you're not an expert, you don't have any history doing something, you can just imagine what the possibilities would be. And now we can bring in things like industry standards across the program in different industries, that kind of thing. I think one of the big things is that community aspect where you feel like you're not alone. So you having Jim, your business owner friend, even just talking to people like, Chris and Mike throughout your career. They're in different industries, but
Mhm.
you've got these people that you connect with, and that's something that we offer. Um, Also, like the financial responsibility aspect, like you had all this money with Laptop Empires. What the hell are we going to do with it? I know, let's pay a contract or a cartoon artist on
Yeah.
retainer.
Yeah. That
We
one still
now
stings.
know that this is not, I mean, it was kind of fun when it happened, I'm sure, but like through TBL, like we can help business owners make smart decisions.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be a client of the TBL to get that advice. You're going to get that in the communities. It's going to be like baked into the courses and whatnot to some extent. Here's how you spend your money on different things. We did a coaching call earlier today about LinkedIn, and there were some questions about like LinkedIn Premium versus the free LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
how do you kind of, what do you figure out which one to use in the beginning? And those are financial decisions that, our team is
Yeah.
helping advise you on. So, there's just a lot, and I think it's really neat to kind of be part of building the company that would have been it would have been very advantageous to you to
Yeah.
be part of the Stellar Brands community 10 years
It would have
ago.
helped me. I would have saved a lot of time. I was doing a coaching call with somebody for Laptop Empires yesterday, and like, I heard them talking about like all of these things that I had done early, and it
Hmm.
was interesting. It was like kind of almost funny in a way, like just watching them talk about it. And I was like, I've made every single mistake that you are making currently, and I can tell you what your next like 5 mistakes are probably going to be.
Ooh,
And but I just told her like, you need to streamline this at this point. It was just interesting. It was like, it's cool to be able to take that knowledge and pass it on to somebody else and hopefully save them a lot of time,
yeah.
because I was like the crash test dummy, and it was my own fault. Like I didn't seek out the kind of help that I probably should have. I just kind of fell into things.
Hmm.
Um, because of my personality, I like to just do things. But it's been cool to like just pass that knowledge on and help people grow and avoid the mistakes that we've made. And I think that's going to continue, because like we have problems that we're trying to figure out right now. And like that as a
Yeah.
business owner never stops. I mean, like one of our bigger things that we've got to figure out is like, how do we market Stellar Brands when we're a multi-branded company and we've got all these different programs, like, because I think we do incredible work, but I don't think enough people know about the work that we do. So like, how do you streamline that message and that branding um, and make everything make sense? Cause like some people, like we had somebody emailing the other day, they were like, I think I found your course through Millennial Money Man, but I don't even think Bobby runs that anymore. And I don't even know if that's like, so we have to figure out our brand message, and
Hmm.
that's on the list of things to figure out. We have to figure out how to like grow as an organization, because like we implemented EOS in the company and we're growing and we're doing things, but like it's not easy, and like
Hmm.
I'm sitting in the marketing seat right now. I should probably not be sitting in the marketing seat. Like we have all these like things that we need to figure out, but as we figure those things out, we're going to be able to help business owners that are at the level that we're at currently. When we're
Yeah.
multiple levels ahead in the future, we'll be able to say like, here's the things that we messed up and you can do all these things. So that part never ends, but I do love that our programs, I think, are done really well and they're very effective. And I think that the path that we take people on is really, really good. So it's
Yeah.
cool to be able to do that and see how it's turned into. I don't know how it turned into all of this. Like I just explained all of it, but it still sounds incredibly crazy that it has progressed into this thing that could be that's almost like the vision is so big for it that it kind of feels heavy sometimes, because it's like, how do we
Yeah.
do all of this? But that's just part of business, and I like that we can
Hmm.
kind of guide people through that.
Agree. Well, I feel like this is a good point to stop. So,
Yeah.
thank you guys for listening to the Money Shop. I hope you enjoyed the story of, you know, start to where we currently are with Stellar. By no means the end. Lots to do.
Yep.
And we'll see you again on a future episode. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
Bobby.
you.